Israel assassinated Hamas political leader in Iran this week. Iran has vowed revenge. Wall Street seems not to care. It is banking on cooler heads to prevail. But is this complacency justified? Why might the US elections be changing the reaction functions of Iran and Israel? What could bite the market in the ass? Are we still living in a unipolar world, or are we already in a multipolar one? I don't know. What I do know is that the unipolar world and the multipolar world orders are locked in a high-stake power struggle right now. The unipolar world wants to maintain the dominance that it has enjoyed since the end of the Cold War, whereas the multipolar world wants a bigger seat at the table and a bigger share of the pie that it thinks it deserves. Which side will prevail in the end? The jury's still out, but the power struggle has already produced some obvious and less obvious winners and losers. An example of an obvious winner is Mexico, that is benefiting from reshoring and friendshoring of American manufacturing. Mexico has seen a surge of direct investment, and last year overtook China to become the largest exporter to the US. A less obvious winner of the power struggle between the unipolar and the multipolar world orders is Iran. Iran directly benefits from the increasing animosity between the two camps. This is helping to alter the balance of power in the Middle East, making a regional war more likely. Russia has long been the main arms supplier to Iran, and the two countries cooperated closely in Syria to preserve the Assad regime. But because Iran was under Western sanctions and Russia had business dealings with the West, Moscow kept Tehran at arm's length. But the Russia-Ukraine war has brought the two countries much closer. Western economic sanctions against Russia have deepened the economic ties between the two countries, as Russia explores ways to circumvent the sanctions. The bilateral trade between the two countries increased by 48% in the first quarter of this year. The two countries just signed an agreement that will connect Iran's Shatab banking system and Russia's Mir interbank system by the end of this month. With respect to defense cooperation, the two countries have moved beyond their previous client-patron relationship, with Iran becoming a major supplier of arms to Russia since the Ukraine war. One recent report suggests that Russia has purchased at least 6,000 Shahed 136 drones since the war. There were also reports that Iran was sending hundreds of ballistic missiles to Russia. Recently, Iran is said to be supplying anti-drone defense systems to Russia. In exchange, Russia is said to have promised to provide Iran with advanced fighter jets and air defense technology, and is providing technical assistance to Iran's spy satellite development. In April, Iran unveiled a new drone that looks a lot like the powerful Russian Lancet drone, a precision loitering munition that in the Ukraine war has proved to be highly effective against high-value targets deep inside the enemy's lines. All this is helping to upgrade Iran's military capabilities and strengthen its defenses against any future airstrike by Israel on its nuclear infrastructure. There's little doubt that Iran is exploiting the power struggle between the unipolar and the multipolar world to move closer to realizing its ambition to join the world's nuclear club. Like Russia, China has long been an arms supplier to Iran. China was a principal supplier of nuclear technology to Iran until the 1990s and continues to provide assistance to its missile development program. The deterioration of the US-China relations under Biden has pushed China and Iran closer together. Although officially China has imported no Iranian oil since middle of 2022, most of the Iranian oil exports are ending up in China, according to data compiled by Klepper, a firm that specializes in tracking global shipping traffic. Much of the oil that China imports from Iran is passed off as oil of other origins, with tanker-to-tanker transfers in the open sea circumventing Western sanctions. In March 2021, Iran and China signed a cooperation agreement under which China agrees to invest $400 billion in Iran over the next 25 years. Iran joined the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in July 2023 and became a member of the BRICS in 2024. With the invitation to join the BRICS, Iran has emerged from international isolation and has shrugged off its outcast status in the West. Biden came into office in 2021 with a pledge to re-enter the Iran nuclear deal signed under Obama that Trump walked away from. Iran's growing ties with Russia and China might have prompted a change in U.S. policy, but that didn't happen. In September 2023, Biden agreed to unfreeze $6 billion of Iranian funds to win the release of 5 Americans in Iranian detention. 2 months later, only weeks after the Hamas attack on Israel, Biden unfroze another $10 billion that Iraq owed Iran. Meanwhile, the Biden administration stopped enforcing the sanctions on Iranian oil exports. As a result, over the past 2 years, Iranian oil exports have increased by 10 times to reach 1.5 million barrels per day last month. Assuming Iran is selling its oil with a 25% discount, this means Iran has been able to generate an extra $50 billion in terms of oil revenue over the past 2 years as the result of U.S. policy under Biden. It is possible that Biden wanted to woo Iran away from China and Russia. It is also possible that Biden needed Iranian oil to help keep oil price low. Whatever was and is the reason, the clash between the unipolar and the multipolar world has been a huge windfall for Iran and its proxies in the Middle East. No country has played the unipolar world off against the multipolar world as successfully as has Iran over the past 3 years. As a result, its finances have improved, its military capabilities have improved, and its international status has improved. This is evidenced by the war that Iran has been waging against Israel since October. For the first time, Iran activated the ring of fire that it spent years building around Israel. Even with Hamas military capabilities greatly weakened, Iranian proxies in Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and Syria are mounting nearly constant attacks against Israel and are increasingly coordinating their attacks using a combination of missiles and drones. Israel's multi-layer air defense system with its Iron Dome, David Sling, and Arrow was designed with rockets and missiles in mind. It is struggling to defend against drones that fly at low altitude and with low heat signatures. Iranian drones damaged an Israeli radar surveillance balloon called Sky Dew in May, and a multi-million-dollar anti-drone system called Drone Dome in June. On July 19th, an Iranian drone launched from Yemen more than 1,000 miles away struck an apartment building in Tel Aviv, killing 1 person. Israel is now pouring millions of dollars into developing anti-drone defense systems, but Iran is not standing still either. Israel still has one of the best air forces in the world, but Iranian drones are gradually altering the balance in the sky. While Iran wages an undeclared war against Israel, it has quickened the pace of its uranium enrichment activities. Indeed, it is tempting to conclude that the war against Israel was always meant as a distraction to give Iran an opportunity to cross the nuclear Rubicon. It is thought that Iran is now only a month away from producing multiple nuclear weapons. Even Anthony Blinken, an Iran appeaser, admitted so much last week. The US elections may be giving Iran 2 reasons to make a run for nuclear immunity now. Tehran might think that it can do so with relative impunity. It might think that Washington may be even less willing to take any action that could cause oil price to spike in the run-up to the election. Tehran may also want to hedge against a potential second Trump term. In Trump's first term, he terminated the Iran nuclear deal and ordered the assassination of Qasem Soleimani Iran's most powerful military commander. The news last week that the US has intelligence that Iran is plotting to assassinate Trump could be viewed as evidence that Iran fears a return of Trump as America's commander-in-chief. From Iran's perspective, the time to go for nuclear immunity will not get any better than right now. Does this mean a nuclear Iran will be soon upon us? Not if Israel can do something about it. Iran featured prominently in Netanyahu's address to the US Congress last week. Indeed, I think it's reasonable to assume that Bibi went to the US to drum up support for taking action to stop Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. Is it a coincidence that 3 days after Bibi's return to Israel, the Hamas political leader Haniyeh was assassinated in Iran? Is it possible that this was meant to provoke Iran into retaliating against Israel in order to give Israel an excuse to take action against Iran's nuclear program? I don't know. What I think is safe to assume is that with Biden no longer seeking re-election, he may not have the same leverage over Israel and Iran. Biden may not even have the same incentive to keep oil price low at all costs. Biden has brought the world ever closer to the edge of World War III. Does he really want to be remembered for allowing Iran to cross the nuclear threshold and triggering a nuclear arms race across the Middle East? There's still 3 months before the US elections. In my view, both political and geopolitical risks will be going up between now and then. Fasten your seatbelt. It could be a wild ride.